What's up, fellas? Scotty Martin here, hanging out in my office. Yes, we're going to do something a little different today, or should I say this year. You know, every tournament, every FLW tournament, we start off with a travel vlog, which is, I love those. I think they're hilarious. Then we move into a practice vlog, which is great. Kind of shows you my game plan of what I'm going to do. And then we move in, of course, into the tournament video, which actually is all now dropped on the channel. So if you haven't seen any of those, you need to check them out. Lake Okeechobee Tour Stop #1 FLW Tour is all up and going. So I thought, hey, you know what would be neat? Let's do a little hindsight 2020 video. Yes, kind of like I didn't win the tournament, so let's talk about it, right? So maybe I can give you guys some insight. Maybe you can get into my head a little bit and kind of see the decisions I made. We can break down some of the decisions that I made throughout the tournament, as well as talk about maybe some of the funny moments or interesting things that happened throughout the FLW Tour event. First of all, I didn't win the tournament. Of course, you know that by now. I finished 21st. Now, what does that mean? 21st? A lot of people would say that's not very good. Well, it's bittersweet for me, right? Living here on Lake Okeechobee, I want to win the tournament. I've been fortunate enough to win here before. I've been fortunate enough to finish very high many, many times. So a 21st place finish for me isn't the best, but at the end of the day, every tournament is a tournament. Every tournament is an opportunity to make money. Every tournament is an opportunity to make points for Angler of the Year, Forest Wood Cup. So I ended up with a bunch of points. Now we have 186 or 87 anglers in this event. So finishing 21st, you know, you do the math, it's not too terrible. Now, that being said, I made it to day 3. Going into day 3, I was in 12th. Didn't catch them so great. Ended up 21st. So let's break it down. So let me first dive into a couple things. Kind of my mindset, my practice. But here was my plan. My plan before the tournament started was I checked the weather. And the wind was going to blow northeast, pretty stiff, pretty strong the first couple days of the tournament, then switch to kind of come east, southeast the last 2 days. So my original game plan was to fish 2 days north and then make the move to the south end of the lake, which I've done many times before, and finish out the tournament on the south end of the lake, because that was going to be better for the wind. When it's out of the north, especially stiff wind out of the north on Lake Okeechobee, it's going to muddy up some areas on the south end. Likewise, if it's out of the south, it's going to clear up the south end and make the north end a little bit muddy. But day 1, I started up north, started up in the Moonshine Bay area, casting around, swim jigs, swimming worms, a whole bunch of different things. And I caught a limit, caught one nice one, about 4 pounds or so, which was awesome. And then made the move at about 11 o'clock out to my secondary area, which had the bigger fish in it, I felt like, for the opportunity to catch some 6 and 7, 8, 9 pounders or whatever. And that area was up close to the monkey box. And I soon arrived there at about 11:30, started kind of drifting out through that middle area of that big flat. And on that flat, here's what you have on these flats. You had like patches of reeds, which reeds are the round reeds, round cattail or whatever you want to call them. I call the round one reeds and I call the flat ones cattails, actually. And there is 2 different types of grass there. And this flat had tons of little patches of reeds all around it. So I started going out through there, throwing a chatterbait, and caught a couple, 2 pounders, 2.5 pounders, coiled up a little bit, and then all of a sudden, the moment happened. Every tournament, there's key things that have to happen to kind of key you in on things, kind of give you the confidence where you need. And here it is, right here. Let's just play the clip. It's what I call cast to catch. Let's just play this real quick. All right, midday update. I've got 4 little babies and 1 good fish. I have had a hard time culling up anything substantial. So we're kind of at that point in the day where it's like you got to buckle down and make something happen. That's about where I'm at. I'm seeing a couple things go my way here. You can survive. Biggin. Biggin. Please net this fish. Get down on your knees. Coming at him.
Alright, you want to come up with it?
He's right here. He's right here. Right here. Yes, dude. Oh my gosh. I just said it. I just said it. Something's going to happen, and I just said it. I said it on film. How about that, boys? Wasn't that crazy? I mean, like literally, it was that moment where I'm going, okay, I need to make something happen. Something needs to happen. I need to kind of make my mind up. And in my mind, I was thinking, do I stay or do I go? Do I go to my next area or do I stay here? I'm staying, right? I mean, you catch a donkey like that, I am staying. And let me show you what I caught it on. I caught it on this chatterbait right here. Matter of fact, this exact chatterbait. Now, I throw chatterbaits a lot. You've seen a lot of my videos throwing chatterbaits. This is just a standard black and blue chatterbait, nothing fancy. I've got a little gambler, little easy on the back of it. And I mismatched it this time. And normally I don't do that. Normally if I'm throwing black and blue, I'm gonna throw a black and blue trailer. Or if I'm throwing a green pumpkin, I'm gonna throw a green pumpkin trailer. But this one, for whatever reason, I just wanted something a little different. I don't know. So it's a black and blue chatterbait with a watermelon red trailer. A little different, huh? 3/8 size. And I had it on straight braid. And I had it rigged up on this rod right here, which is a Akuma Helios. It's the 7-foot 6-inch rod. It's not one of my signature rods. It's a Helios, 7-foot 6-inch heavy, but it's got a nice little soft tip, but enough backbone. And had it matched up on a TCS, or actually this is a Helios. Yeah, it is a TCS, a Helios TCS reel. But here was the reason I went with this setup. A lot of times when I'm fishing a chatterbait, especially in what I would call open water, I throw fluorocarbon. But with this particular setup, I had straight braid, and here's why. I was making extremely long casts. I think that was kind of a key thing for me in that I was making these really long casts. I'd power pole down. The wind was awful. I mean, it was blowing like 20, 25 miles an hour every single day. And so I would get completely upwind from my target, right? I would position the boat. I would trolling motor, get my boat in position where I can cast straight downwind accurately, not crosswind, straight downwind. I'd power pole the boat down 30 yards from my target, make a bomb cast way past the target, which is, again, these little clumps of reeds, and reel that chatterbait down through there real slow and steady. I'd kind of hit every corner of that little patch, and that's really was the key for me on day one and even on day two, was taking that chatterbait and just really fishing it a lot. I didn't get a ton of bites, but when I did, they were good fish, especially like the one I just caught. So that was really cool. The other thing that I did was I would pitch in the reeds as well. I would pitch in there with a 3/4 ounce tungsten weight and a little creature bait. This is a Bruiser Crazy Craw. Again, braid, straight braid, flipping stick. This is one of my TCS flipping sticks here. And 65 pound, you know, I throw the TCBX braid. This stuff right here is super slick, super smooth. This is 80 right here, but I was actually flipping the 65. But I do 80. If I'm flipping in the mats, the super thick mats with like 2-ounce tungsten, I'll do the 80. But for my normal stuff, it's mostly 65. And for my casting around, it's mostly 50. But I would also flip into these thicker reed patches and then cast a worm around as well. But for sure, the key for me was a chatterbait. Speaking of baits, I do have to give props here. I have to give some major props because I did catch a couple key fish throughout the tournament on this bait right here. Now, most of you guys have probably never seen this bait. This bait right here, and it's actually one straight on my boat, it's all chewed up, is a Gary Yamamoto hardtail grub. Now, why did I throw this? Well, first of all, let me just say why I threw this bait. I threw this bait because we did several videos recently hanging out with my dad and Brandon doing some little challenges on those little lakes, and we kept getting our butt kicked by this thing right here. I would throw the Big Easy or different swim baits that I like to throw, and when they whipped out the hardtail, magic went down. Matter of fact, speaking of magic, I'll show you a hardtail moment. Right now is where Brandon was fishing against my dad and I. You just check it out. Just check this out. This is what this bait does. Check this out. Uh-oh. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. We maybe have the big hunting fish of the day. He's got the big fish.
Oh my gosh, Brandon. Brandon, you want me to help you out?
Yes, if you could.
Big fish of the day. Yep, he's got you, Simon. He's got you. Brandon's got you.
Dude.
He's got you. He's got a 5-pounder. He won. He only caught a handful of fish, but he caught the biggest one.
What did you get him on, the hardtail thing?
Yeah.
Give Gary Yamamoto some props.
Yamamoto.
Yamamoto.
Dude.
Hey, that's the second time I've been with you.
I know,
We
you
caught
good luck.
all sorts of fish, and by golly, you throw out there and catch the biggest one. That's 2 times in a row.
I mean, come on, really? I mean, that's exactly why I have this bait now. Not sponsored by Gary Yamamoto. This is just truthful, guys, right to you, right? First of all, I don't fib anyways, but straight up, not a sponsor. The hardtail grub swim bait is the deal. I actually like it a lot. Now, what I was doing in practice on the south end of the lake was I was reeling this bait across the holes in the grass. Had a little bit of weight on it, and I would kill it and let it fall down in the holes, and I was catching a lot of fish. And then I'd reel it to the next hole. They would either bite it on top, going between the holes, or they'd bite it when it fell down in the hole. But that bait right there was good. That was going to be my day 3 and 4 option right here going south. But anyways, getting back to the story. Day 1 goes down. I have 17 pounds. Day 2, we roll back in the same area. I stay in that area all day long. And Tim Frederick and I are good friends. We're fishing the same stuff, and it's pretty much him and I for the most part out in this main little area that we're kind of going back and forth on. We're sharing water, no problem, kind of cheering each other on, which was cool. And I caught 2 6-pounders and 3 small bass that third day and ended up with about the same weight, 16, 14, which is almost 17 pounds. Made the cut, made the top 30 cut, which is cool. Made the top 30 cut on a home lake. I'm good. I need to make a big move though, right? So Tim Frederick that day dropped the hammer, not only on the entire tournament, but right in my face. What did he do? Well, he picked up a chatterbait. He did some worm fishing. He caught some donkeys. That's matter of fact, let me just show you a couple that he caught. Take a look at this. This is absolutely crazy.
Oh, baby, stay pinned. Oh, please stay pinned, baby. Yes. Woo! That helps.
I mean, that guy, Tim, knows how to catch big fish. I told him a couple years ago when we filmed up at Harris Chain, we caught a mega bag. I said, dude, your nickname needs to be like Tim Big Fish Frederick, right? And I said, you should change it on your Instagram, but he hasn't done that yet. But he might now because he wrecked him. He had 26 pounds. I had 17, but I did lose an 8-pounder. Matter of fact, here's a sound for all you bass fishermen out there that you'll love, right? The sound of braid screeching back and forth in heavy cover, right? This is an 8-pounder. You don't get to see the fish, but you'll get to see the rod bend and you'll get to hear the noise. Check this out. This is the only fish that I lost, big one, throughout the tournament for me, but it actually cost me a lot. It cost me the finals, but check this out.
Net, big giant one, dude. Get the net. Get the net. Oh my gosh, he came off. He freaking came off.
Again, that was crazy. It was one of those moments that I hated it to happen. It just got off. I didn't lose any other big fish all week, but that one right there was the biggest bite that I had in the course of 3 days for sure, and ended up losing it, and it just got me wrapped around. And here's what happened to that fish. I had him coming, and he mowed through the big reed patch. I had him close to the surface, and at the last minute, a couple reeds bent around the braid and wrapped around it. And I thought maybe if I just pull a little bit harder that it would saw the reeds off, which a lot of times it does. It didn't. The hook wasn't in there good enough, and it just pulled the hook out. So if I would have babied that fish and not pulled so hard and just let the fish thrash around for a second and do its thing and got in there with a net, we might have been fishing on day 4. Speaking of nets, now my guy on day 2 he couldn't hear good, and to be fair, it was super windy, so it was hard to hear just for that reason. But I had a 6-pounder on, and I am yelling for net. Just take a look. Take a look. It's pretty good. But we landed the fish. Just take a look.
Net. 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 Thank you, Jesus. Look at that, boys. Look at that. Look at that.
I don't know how many times I said net, but I think I said net like 8 or 9 times. And I think he just like looked at me like, and he might have been thinking, because I do have a tendency, I admit, to say, big fish, giant, and it ends up being like a 2-pounder. So I probably said giant, get the net probably 5 times before I actually had the giant. So it's kind of like crying wolf. But I got the fish in the boat. I actually just swung him right up in the boat. Day 2 rolls, day 3 I get out there. It's Tim, Frederick, and I only basically bouncing around in that little area. And by now, you know, we've kind of got our own little zone, and Tim caught that big bag, some of those biggest fish in one little, I would say 100-yard stretch, to be honest with you. Probably, you know, just one little line of cattails and reeds that went down through there. He kept going back to that area. And it's where I caught a 7-pounder the first day. The first big fish I caught out there was in that same general area. And the 8-pounder I lost on day 2 was in that same area. But Tim had kind of, I guess, taken a liking to that area for obvious reasons. And I didn't want to really pressure him. You know, he had an opportunity to win the tournament at this point. And I thought, you know, I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up. I'm not going to stop fishing. I'm going to fish because I can catch a 25 or 26-pound bag and be right back in this thing. But I didn't want to go over there and just like hammer down on his stuff. So for the most part, I just kind of stayed around the perimeter, kind of fished around, stayed out of his way. And Tim was able to catch several of his biggest fish on day 3 in that exact little area right there. So it was about 11 o'clock and I didn't have any big fish yet. So I'm thinking, man, I've got to make a move. You know, I don't know if it's going to happen today. And I had some fish down south. So I made a decision. Was it the right one? Looking back, no. This was not the right decision. I should have hammered down and stayed in that area and just made it happen somehow, because I really only needed 2 bites, right? Each day I needed 2 big bites a day to make it into the finals. But I decided at the last minute to make a run down south, 25-mile run down there and fish the last 2 hours of the day. And when I get down there to fish this one exact spot, I see one of the other competitors. Brandon McMillan is sitting there flipping down this edge. This must have been where he's been, one of the areas he was fishing all week. So of course I'm not gonna come flying in there and fish any of that. So I went on down to the next little section and looked up, and there's 2 or 3 other guys in the top 30, all in this little area flipping mats. Jared McMillan. It just kind of day 3 wasn't the right time to come flying in and just jump all up in the mix of somebody's stuff. So I got out there in the open water, just started casting this little hardtail around and caught, I don't know, several fish on it. Nothing big, hoping that I'd get one big 4 or 5-pounder. And I didn't. Ended up with just a limit that weighed almost 9 pounds, which is not real good. I'm sitting here looking at this here. This is a little painful. I just pulled up the stats here. Finished 21st place. Made $10,000. How about that, guys? $10,000. Made 10 grand fishing the FLW Tour. That's awesome. But here's what is stinky. 20th place. 20th place was $12,000. The difference between 20th place and 21st place, 1 ounce. 1 ounce. Are you kidding me? 1 ounce? I didn't call every fish. I eyeballed them. I just held them up, was like, yeah, I think this one's bigger, this one's smaller, whatever. I probably could have made up that ounce, right? If I would have really paid attention extremely close to what I was calling and what I wasn't calling by using a scale. So lesson learned there, right? You'd think I would know that, but it cost me $2,000 for 1 ounce. Now, that's not good. That's stupid on my part, because 1 ounce is 1 place, it's 1 point, it's $2,000. There's all kind of ramifications for something like that. So making sure that I get every ounce that I can in these tournaments is super important. So that is about it, fellas. Hindsight 2020. Wanted to basically give you guys a breakdown. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Big congrats to Tim Frederick for winning this tournament. Almost had 85 pounds, almost. I mean, if he'd have had like a 20-something pound bag the first day, which he had 16, he'd have been 95 pounds, almost a 100-pound bag here on Lake Okeechobee in Clewiston. Awesome. Congrats to the McMillan family, Brandon and Jared. First year Jared's fished on the tours, his very first FLW Tour event as a pro. Did very well. Actually beat out Brandon. The Johnson brothers, these guys are no joke. They're gonna continue to make finals. They did great. You know, everybody in the top 10. You guys did awesome. So look, we're off to Harris Chain, next FLW Tour stop. So be sure to not only follow us, subscribe to us, check out our Instagram. We'll drop all that down below. Also, check out FLW's YouTube page. Check out all their stuff. They've got cool videos, outtakes, key catches throughout every event. Appreciate all the support, guys. We'll see ya. I'm out. Bam! you.